Good morning, everybody. Oh, by the way, are we ready? Yep, we're good. I'll remind everybody that we're streaming live. And the meeting is also has a virtual option today. We have a couple of members joining us virtually. Why don't we start off like we always do and rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Father Alex will lead us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Before we get to our agenda, first let's go around the table and on the screen so we could recognize council members and I could recognize that we have a quorum to conduct business. So again, here Kevin Law.
Christopher Hahn.
Frank Trotta.
Neil Buttercley.
Sarah Alberti.
Narmi McCowie.
Alexander Carlucci.
Good. And on the phone, on the screen, we have
Karen Gio.
hi Karen. Linda, are you there?
No.
All right, okay. And was Brenda joining us on that?
She was.
Okay. But with Karen, Frank, Chris, Father Alex, myself, and Arden, we certainly have a quorum. So now, Andrea, if you want to introduce yourself and the members of your team, it looks like we have some guests with us as well, but why don't we first go around and introduce you and your team?
Okay, Andrea Goldsmith, the 7th president of Stony Brook University, #1 public university in New York State. Yay.
Whoa, love it.
Caffeine is kicked in already.
Sean Hilbrun, Director of Athletics.
Bill Wertheim, Executive Vice President for Health Sciences in Stony Brook Medicine.
Hi, Jed Shivers, Senior Vice President for Finance and Administration.
Good morning, Jennifer Almquist, Chief of Staff.
Hi, Rick Ghetto, Vice President for Student Affairs.
Good morning, Laura Zachary's Vice President of Graduate Management.
Good morning, my name is Braden Posh. I'm the Vice President for Educational and Institutional Effectiveness.
Hi, Wendy Pearson, Vice President for Strategic Initiatives and Executive Director of Stony Brook.
Good morning, Bill Herman, Vice President for Facilities and Services.
Good morning, Simeon Anu, Vice President for Information Technology and Chief Information Officer.
Good morning, Jane Savage, Vice President of Human Resources.
Good morning, Jackie Weissman, Interim Chief of Council.
Scott Barrett, Interim Vice President of University Advancement and Executive Director of the Stony Brook Foundation.
Susan Foley, Interim Vice President of Marketing Communications.
Good morning, my name is Carol Bones. I'm the CEO at Stony Brook University Hospital.
Good morning, I'm Pat Brockenthal, Dean and Professor of the School of Nursing.
Shelley Truman, I'm the Senior Associate Provost for Undergraduate Education.
Hi, good morning. I'm Louise Melius, President of UUP West Shepton.
Good morning, Kevin Gardner, Vice President of Research and Innovation.
Bruce Cuby, President, HSC Chapter at Stony Brook University.
Rachel Cavanaugh, Executive Assistant to the Chief of Staff.
Okay. And everybody else is a guest? Well, welcome. Welcome to the council meeting. Before my chairman's report, let's approve the minutes of the meeting of October 6, 2025. Frank moves, Chris Hahn seconds. Are there any revisions, additions, or comments? All in favor to approve the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The minutes are approved. I really didn't have much on my chairman's report, but I did want to acknowledge two of our council members. And I'm going to get this wrong, so I'll let him do it. But Father Alex has been a long-term member of the council and a great member of the council, has been elevated in his role to the #1 position in the United States, is it?
In the world.
In the world. And what's the exact title?
Well, you ever hear about Hagia Sophia in Constantinople, the Great Church of Christ, which was done by Justinian in 537, 1,000 years before St. Peter's in regards to the structure. It was the capital, actually, of the Roman world at the time. So it's called the Great Church of Christ. So the #1 priest would be called the Grand Proto-Presbyter of the Great Church of Christ. It's a historical title, and it's with a priest for the rest of his life until he dies, and it goes to the next generation. So there's only one Grand Proto-Presbyter of the Great Church of Christ. So it's a historical title, and it really moved me deeply, and I thank the council and Stony Brook for honoring His All Holiness. So you must have done a great job. He got inspired. And he says, what the heck? He says, if I get the Stony Brook medal, shouldn't I make him the president? So I owe it all to you. So thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Bravo. That's fantastic.
Awesome. Very well.
Great.
And Brenda's joined us. Hi, Brenda. I think he's on his way. But Errol Toulon, our other council member, if you don't know, he is the sheriff of Suffolk County. It's the number one law enforcement position in the county because
and the oldest.
And the oldest. The Suffolk County Police Department only covers the 5 western towns. The sheriff covers all 10 towns of Suffolk County. And Eric has done such an amazing job that he ran unopposed. All the parties endorsed him, and he got more votes than any elected official in Suffolk County on most recent election day. He's also the highest ranking person of color elected on Long Island. And even though he's not here, let's all give him a round. And if he comes, we'll embarrass him and we'll make him say a few words. Okay? All right. So other than that, it's been a great fall, and really excited to hear Andrea's report. And we've had a couple of meetings and get-togethers in between the last meeting, and I can attest she is off to an amazing start. And it's only been, what, 4 months, 5 months?
Down 4 months.
4 months.
August
So
1st.
I will hand it over to you, Andrea.
Okay, 4.5 months, I guess.
4.5.
So thank you, Chairman Law, and thanks for being an exceptional partner. I mean, I've been working with Kevin. I still remember the day I walked into the first interview, and he was waiting to greet me, and I said, "You look younger than your picture," which was a true statement, but I think that ingratiated me with him quite well.
And then I got her pair of glasses.
That's right. My contacts needed upgrading, but it really has been an amazing partnership to work with you as a council and just someone who knows Long Island so well and is such an incredible supporter of our university and a great connection to local and state government. And so thank you for your partnership. It really means a lot to me and to all of us here. I also want to congratulate Father Alex. The event that we had out in Southampton was incredible. I was truly honored to be part of it and to be part of giving the Stony Brook Medal. As you know, I spent time in Greece, and so it was very reminiscent of what a wonderful country and people.
Here's our number one sheriff in our
very good.
universe over here.
We're doing a lot of number ones here. Yeah, please, why don't you go ahead?
So Errol, in my chairman's report, I just acknowledged Father Alex with his new promotion, and I just shared with the crowd that you won election without any opposition, had more votes than any elected official on Long Island, the highest ranking person of color on Long Island, and one of the best law enforcement officials Long Island has ever seen. So we thank you and we congratulate you. Feel free to say whatever you want.
I'm just very fortunate to have the position, and I'm very fortunate to be part of this council. And I thank all of you for your friendship and support.
Great. And we still on for lunch on Wednesday.
Yes.
Celebratory lunch.
All right.
All right. So I will continue. We've got a lot of number ones that we're celebrating. So we'll keep the upward momentum. As you know, number one public university in New York, soon to be number one in the country if we have our strategic vision right. So good morning. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. It's actually one of my favorite holidays because it's a moment to step back and reflect on all that I'm grateful for in my life. And this was a particularly special Thanksgiving because of the gratitude I have to be leading this exceptional university and be part of this incredible community. And when I was visiting with friends and family, they're like, "Gee, you seem so happy." And so it's truly genuine, my joy at leading Stony Brook and being part of this leadership team and all of you. And thank you to the council for your wisdom and guidance and for recommending me for the role. That's also, something I'm grateful for. But I really appreciate the council and as I've said many times, having a diversity of perspectives and experiences to help us shape the vision of this university and run the university as well as we possibly can is really important to me. And I very much value the council and your input. So thank you for the support you've given us up until now, and will continue to do so. So I'm delighted to be celebrating my first holiday season as a Sea Wolf. It started last month when I participated in my first of our special Stony Brook traditions that start the holiday season. So the first was Light the Brook, and I have to give credit to President Sarah. We're co-presidents in a way, and we did the countdown to light up our campus. And this is such a beautiful tradition that was started by our students. And as I often say, a lot of the best ideas come from the young people. That's why I love being in a university. It was the students who had the idea to light up our campus to mark the beginning of the holiday season, and that even though it might be dark, we are united as a community that brings light to the campus and to each other. And I enjoyed the countdown, especially because it didn't work the first time. And I think that that's indicative of when you're entrepreneurial and innovative. If something doesn't work the first time, you just do it again, and it worked the second time. So that was lovely. And then I went immediately from there to the Interfaith Thanksgiving dinner, which we have something, and I've told colleagues around the country and universities about it. I don't know that it exists anywhere else. This Interfaith Council, which brings together the religious leaders of our community, so the Jewish, Protestant, Catholic, and Asian American. And they have been serving in this council for decades, and it's a way to unite our community, particularly in times of strife. And we had a challenging time in our community with the protests, and even before with 9/11. And this community of people comes together, people of different faiths, talking about what unites us, not what divides us. And I think that's really incredibly special about Stony Brook. And as I sat there listening to the performances and the prayers and the traditions of these different faiths, and looking around the room of hundreds of people that were celebrating together what unites us as people, as a community, it really struck me how special this Interfaith Council is, and the Interfaith Thanksgiving, giving thanks for our community and the diversity of a community and how it enriches the experience that all of us have. So those were amazing ways to start the holiday season. And then I dashed over to the men's basketball game and got to see their first win in the first home game, and they won. So it was a great way to kick off the holiday season, and also a indication of how frantic it was going to be. But it was wonderful. Then there was another wonderful event this past Friday. We had an alumni holiday celebration in New York City in the BlackRock building. I really have to give credit to Scott Barrett and his team for putting on a really incredible alumni event. In fact, I want to give him a round of applause for that, because this event, I think it was the second time that we've had this event in New York City. It was 50 people a year ago. It was triple that this time. People did not want to leave. We really had to push them out the door, because after 9 o'clock, we had to pay more money. So we were kind of pushing them out the door. They didn't want to leave. And they were so grateful for us coming to them, to being in New York City. We have incredible alumni in New York City that want to be part of our campus, that want to be part of our vision going forward. And this event was really spectacular in bringing together some of our most recent alums with people that graduated in the 60s even, and everything in between. So it was a very special event, and also just emphasizes for me why this notion that Stony Brook has to be accelerating our excellence and impact from Manhattan to Montauk. And Manhattan is a really big piece of that, because we have so many alumni there that can be our ambassadors, be our supporters, and really help showcase what is special about a Stony Brook education. So that was a fantastic event. And then it just folded into a weekend of meeting with donors and alumni that didn't end. I had a brunch that stretched till 6 p.m. And then a dinner right after that. And it's very hard to pull away from these meetings and gatherings, because people are so grateful to Stony Brook, and they're so willing to help and support us, and truly delighted to see the vision of the university ahead. So it was a wonderful weekend. And then not to end there, we have our third annual Stony Awards tonight, which is a way to celebrate our faculty and staff and healthcare professionals that have made a significant positive difference to our university and to our community. And I particularly love the fact that this event recognizes staff, because staff are often the unsung heroes of every university. Our faculty are up on the websites and, recognized with external awards. Our students are what inspires all of us, and we love showcasing things that our students do. But staff are often working in the background. They're the unsung heroes for which it would not be possible to execute our mission. So I'm really looking forward to recognizing everyone tonight, but especially the staff for their exceptional contributions to our university. And so it's just rolling into a season filled with joy and gratitude. And for me, it's my first holiday season with all of these events. It's just increasing my joy, which was already at exuberant. I don't know what happens after exuberant, but I'm very joyful to be here and to be celebrating all these events. So it has indeed been 4.5 months. I'm closing out. So I passed the 100-day mark.
Nice.
And coming up on the end of my first semester. And it's really true that leading this university has been the most exhilarating and joyful and fulfilling experience of my entire career. Full stop. There's nothing that I've done. It almost feels like everything I've done in my career has led to this moment to lead Stony Brook University. We have so much potential, so much upward momentum, and I truly believe that we can be the #1 public university in the country, that there's nothing that can stop us from increasing our excellence and impact across all areas of our mission. What I've learned over the last 4.5 months and working with this exceptional leadership team, someone asked me at the dinner last night, what surprised me about Stony Brook, our students, and being so inspired by our students. That's the most exceptional thing about Stony Brook. But having a fantastic leadership team. Looking at all of you, you don't know when you walk in as a new president what your leadership team is going to be like. And I've just really enjoyed working with you and appreciate the great leadership that we have here at Stony Brook University. So it's been a fantastic semester. I'm looking forward to wrapping it up with many exciting events over the next couple of weeks. But I think what I've enjoyed the most has really been engaging with our faculty, our alumni, our students, who I will say again, I've never seen such inspiring students in the 7 universities that I've been part of. Every time I meet our students and talk to them about their aspirations and their past and what Stony Brook means to them, it just makes me so proud to be your president. But I also want to acknowledge our alumni, our supporters and community partners, which this council represents, for your support. We couldn't do it without all of you really being behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, supporting us, being our champion, helping us craft the vision that's going to make us so successful. So I'm just so grateful for all the people that make up this special community. So that's my introduction. I want to share a couple of other updates. So in terms of strategic planning, so as you know, in my State of the University address, we kicked off the process of doing strategic planning to map out how we're going to accelerate our excellence and impact from Manhattan to Montauk. We want to hear from people in our community. So this is, sometimes I'm asked, so what's your strategic vision for Stony Brook? And I say, it's not my vision, it's our vision. And collectively, that's everybody in this room, everybody that's part of the Seawolf community. I want them to have a voice in shaping the strategic vision. So as I shared in the last council meeting, we wanted to create opportunities to hear from everyone in our community. And we've had 2 town halls this semester. So we had an in-person town hall in October, open to faculty and students and staff. We had 90 participants in attendance, and Jennifer Almquist and I went to each table and heard some amazing ideas from everybody that was participating. And that just reinforces for me how every voice matters in thinking about shaping our vision. And then we had a virtual town hall a few weeks ago. There were 200 people at that town hall. And thanks to technology, I was able to listen in on the breakout groups as well through the magic of Zoom. And I was really inspired by what I heard in both of the town halls. It's been very helpful in shaping some of the new ideas and ideas that we were already thinking about in the strategic vision. And it again reinforces the idea that good ideas come from everywhere. So people that have ideas on the strategic vision. We have a website now on the president's website. Anyone can put in ideas for what we should be thinking about for our strategy. Now, going into the spring, we're not going to do more town halls. Those were very helpful. We'd like to have more focused discussions around particular topics. So we will be announcing some of the things that we'll be doing for these more focus groups going into the spring. And so I'll just reiterate, I think we have incredible momentum and potential here at Stony Brook. And this strategic planning is an opportunity to think about how do we increase our excellence? How do we increase our impact? And specific things like what should we be doing in Manhattan? What should we be doing in Southampton? What should we be doing around innovation entrepreneurship? Where should we grow our research? How do we take full advantage of this incredible investment by the governor in quantum innovation and research? How do we take advantage of other areas where we lead in research? How do we integrate AI into education? There's so many questions that if we get those answers right, it will just elevate us to be one of the most impactful universities in the country. So in addition to thinking about our strategy, we don't want to just go after the bright, shiny new objects. We need to focus on our foundation as well. We have infrastructure issues that we need to address. We have issues with our current faculty and students and staff in terms of how do we support them well and better. And so we want to make sure that we're not just chasing after new ideas and new things, but that our foundation is strong and will support any additional things that we undertake through this strategic planning. We have one of the things that came up in the in-person town hall at one of the tables was, how do we make sure our people are supported? This was part of the previous strategic plan, our momentum. There was a whole category on supporting our people. Our excellence is because of our people, and we want to make sure that every single person here is supported. Our infrastructure, I find our campus completely charming, even though some of the buildings are old, but I know that there's deferred maintenance and other things that we need to address. So it's not just about constructing new buildings, but also how do we balance the need for constructing new buildings with shoring up the foundation of the buildings that we will continue to use for the next decade or more. As you all know, I'm an optimist. I don't think anyone would be a university president these days unless you were optimistic. And I'm incredibly optimistic about our future. I was asked last night by Ann Kirshner, who was one of my confidants at Princeton and also recommended for this job. She's doing an article on what is one thing that you've learned as a university president that's new. And I said, what I've learned is that our university transforms lives. I've learned that in every conversation that I've had with our students, with our alumni, with our staff, with our faculty. And we do transform lives. It's a disruptive time in higher education. But if we know that that's our mission, to transform lives through our education, through our research, through our healthcare, and our service, we only have a bright future ahead. I truly believe that, and I especially believe that for Stony Brook. So I'm looking forward to working with all of you to achieve that bright future together. A couple other announcements I want to talk about. I'm very pleased to share an update on leadership for the New York Climate Exchange. So I think most of you know, but just as a reminder, the New York Climate Exchange is a separate 501c3 whose mission is to really accelerate solutions to climate change at speed and scale. Stony Brook led a proposal to win the right to lead the climate exchange on Governor's Island in New York City. We beat out many top universities to lead the climate exchange. It's a huge feather in our cap and showcase for Stony Brook to be leading this exchange. And we had a transition of the CEO leadership. Steve Hammer, who was the inaugural founding CEO, has stepped down, and the board recently voted to approve Antha Williams, who's head of the environmental program at Bloomberg Philanthropies, as interim CEO. This is a huge benefit to the climate exchange to have someone who's basically leading all philanthropy in environmental programs for Bloomberg to lead the climate exchange as we do a search for a permanent CEO. And Antha is an incredible leader. She's a visionary. She's incredibly well connected to philanthropy and the people that are working with the same mission that we have. So delighted to bring Antha in as the interim CEO. We have launched an international search for the permanent CEO. This is led by Spencer Stewart, and the goal is to identify the next CEO early in the new year. If anybody has ideas of who might be a good candidate for the CEO, you can reach out to me or to Jennifer Almquist, and we'll connect you with the search firm. Another update I want to talk about, which I'm really excited about, is an academic momentum campaign that's being led by SUNY, and we'll hear more about this shortly. But Stony Brook is participating in SUNY's newly launched multi-year academic momentum campaign. The goal is to improve the retention and completion rates of all SUNY undergraduate students. And as part of this initiative, we have set, I would say, quite aggressive retention and completion goals for the fall 2026 entering cohort, so the students that are coming in the fall semester. And we're working with SUNY to finalize those targets. They are ambitious, and that's the purpose of the campaign. And I think this is an opportunity for us to make strategic investments in student success, including things like academic advising and course availability, but also to think outside the box. So we have this amazing tool of AI. How might we use that to understand how we're educating our students, which students are at risk of not staying in the university? What are we doing right and what are we not doing right with respect to academic advising, course availability, as we aspire to grow our student population, because we would like to educate more New Yorkers as the SUNY flagship and as the #1 public university in the state. How do we do that without risking the success of the students that we have? So it's a very challenging undertaking, but I'm very proud that our leadership team has embraced it. And I believe we absolutely have the right team in place. And you're going to hear from two team members today, Shelley Germana, who's the Senior Associate Provost for Undergrad Education, who was introduced earlier as our campus lead, and Braden Hosh, our incredible Vice President for Educational and Institutional Effectiveness, former interim chief of staff who helped me so much onboarding onto Stony Brook. So these two are just a dream team to help us figure out how do we reach these ambitious targets and maybe exceed them. So we'll look forward to the report from them on the academic momentum campaign. Couple updates on the state government relations. So Speaker Hastie was on campus during homecoming and delivered remarks at the annual Multicultural Unity Brunch hosted by the Black and Latino Alumni Network. I also had the opportunity to meet with him one-on-one after the brunch. He's an incredible supporter of Stony Brook. He's so proud of the education that he got here. He says, I got an MIT education because he got into MIT and came here instead. I hope we're going to have thousands of students that say that in the future, but I'm happy to have the Speaker of the Assembly who says that. He says he's got an MIT education at a Stony Brook price, which is fantastic. He's a huge supporter of us, and we'll continue to work with him in the upcoming session on requests for investments in operations and capital. We recently hosted staff from DASNY on campus, and I had an opportunity to meet individually as well as part of the larger group with President Robert Rodriguez, very inspiring leader, and a great partner. They toured several of our DASNY-backed projects and expressed continued support for our construction and renovation projects. And I want to thank Bill Herman for giving them just an outstanding tour, showcasing the good, bad, and the ugly of what we have here at Stony Brook. I think it really helped to see the buildings live and understand our needs from that perspective. It's a very important partnership with DASNY to be able to fund building up our foundation, both the new buildings as well as renovations. So thank you to the leaders at Stony Brook who spent time with them. I was also recently appointed to the board of directors of the Long Island Association, and I attended my first meeting of that terrific group last week with some others that are here. It's the region's premier chamber of commerce, And it's an important connection for us at Stony Brook. If we're thinking about how Stony Brook is going to ignite Long Island with economic growth and innovation, entrepreneurship, we need to have partners of all the local businesses and our other academic partners across Long Island. So I was really thrilled to be part of that board and had some really excellent conversations. Later this month, Stony Brook will hold its first legislative breakfast with government officials across the East End on the Southampton campus. So thanks to Wendy for organizing or participating and making sure this is a successful event, as Wendy always does with all our Southampton events. It's an opportunity to share what is currently underway and planned in Southampton. And again, Southampton is a really important part of this Manhattan to Montauk. There's a lot of things that we can do with our Southampton campus. It's an incredible opportunity, and meeting with the legislatures and sharing with them our vision is really important. And finally, we're preparing for the start of the legislative session, which will kick off with the governor's State of the State address in early January. I'm really looking forward to being there and hearing all the incredible plans that our governor has. She's been an incredible supporter of Stony Brook. I was really honored to meet her when she came to present us with the $300,000 investment. And I think I said something like, I am sure that Long Island is going to surpass Silicon Valley as the driver of economic growth and innovation and technology. And when she gave her remarks, she said something like, I don't know if the president said this exactly, but something about we're going to kick the butt of Silicon Valley. And I thought, yes, that's exactly right. So anyway, looking forward to the State of the State address. On the federal government relations, as you know, Congress passed a temporary funding bill to fund the government through the end of January, which is going to come up sooner than we think. The agreement was reached before we experienced at Stony Brook significant negative impacts. So the government shutdown did not significantly impact our operations, but obviously there's uncertainties in federal funding going forward. I was in Washington, D.C. last week as part of the SUNY Advocacy Day at the Capitol. It was a fantastic day, and we have common ground with legislative members on both sides of the aisle, and that was the purpose of going down there and meeting with our elected officials to see where we have common ground. So Jay Bhattacharya, who's the director of the National Institute of Health, kicked off our day of meetings. He and I were overlapped at Stanford for a lot of the time that we were there. So we had some good discussions about our days at Stanford. And then we had this closed door meeting with just the youth center presidents. And then there was a broader meeting with the SUNY presidents of all the universities. One of the things that we discussed where we have common ground is the troubling data about stagnant life expectancy in the United States since 2010, despite the pioneering breakthroughs in medicine that we've had. If you look at life expectancy, it's basically flat since 2010, dipped during COVID, and then came back up to that flat level, whereas in other countries, countries that have the same kind of pioneering medicine that we do, life expectancy has gone up. I think we also just saw a drop or an increase in child mortality for the first time in a long time. So the common ground we have with him is, how do we take this high risk, high reward research and translate it into longer life expectancy for people of all segments of the United States? Another thing we talked about, which I had worked on when I was in Biden's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology, was how do we encourage more high risk, high reward research? So research has become in some ways more incremental because of funding mechanisms and risk aversion. And so that's one of the things that we talked about. How do we increase the ability of researchers to go out on a limb and do really big, bold research? And that was a good discussion. After that meeting, we had presentations by Kirsten Gillibrand and Chuck Schumer, and we're very grateful to have such steadfast champions for public higher education representing New York in the Senate, and they're very proud of Stony Brook and big champions of us. Over the course of the afternoon, we met with Congresswoman Gillen's staff, as well as Congressman Suozzi, Lalota, and Garbarino. And each of them expressed meaningful support for the essential role public universities play in fueling economic growth, powering scientific innovation, driving forward economic ability and upward mobility, and educating the next generation of leaders who will shape our country's future. And I closed out the day meeting with Congresswoman Meng, who serves on the Appropriations Committee, as does Nick Lalota. He's our local representative and a huge supporter of Stony Brook. With Congresswoman Meng, we discussed the critical importance of robust federal funding. And that was a theme in all of the conversations, the importance of federal funding, challenges of visas for our international students and the uncertainty associated with that, and how we can drive innovation and economic growth and lead the world, particularly China, in key areas of semiconductors, quantum, and AI. So the conversations with our elected officials were very, very productive and really helped to showcase how the mission of Stony Brook is part of the mission of elected officials across the aisle, and they are strong supporters. The next day, Jennifer Almquist and I met with staff from the Office of Science and Technology Policy, and our discussion really touched on the Department of Energy's recently launched Genesis mission. If people haven't heard of this, there's an executive order from President Trump to do something like the Manhattan Project, but in AI. So basically use AI as an accelerator for transformative scientific discovery, focused on pressing national challenges, which includes areas that we're focused on, quantum, semiconductors, and so forth. So we are very well positioned to take advantage of this new executive order. It's very early stages, but we hope to stay on top of how this Genesis mission is something that Stony Brook can be a big contributor of. This initiative is being led by Undersecretary for Science Dario Gil, and he's someone that's well known to me and well known to Stony Brook because he was formerly the Chief Technology Officer of IBM. The Genesis mission will mobilize the national laboratories, which is another place that we can connect in because we oversee Brookhaven National Labs. So it's connecting national labs, industry, and academia to build an integrated discovery platform that will connect the world's best supercomputers, including quantum computers, which only we have the quantum network that will connect quantum computers. It will connect supercomputers, AI systems, and next generation quantum systems with the most advanced scientific instruments in the nation. So I came away from all these meetings, these 2 days, proud of the impact of SUNY and Stony Brook, and the impact it has on these elected officials, how they view us as an essential partner in their vision for the United States. This is just the first of many visits. I expect to spend a lot of time in Washington because it's very important that we continue to showcase what we do at Stony Brook and in SUNY. And I have to say, one of the questions I asked a lot of these elected officials is, how can we help you make the case for increased national funding and for our research? And how can we help you make the case for Pell Grants and for student support? And they said, just show up, just be here advocating. And so it's really important that we are there, that we are present, that we are making the case for how the federal government is such an important partner in the mission of universities, in particular public universities, to educate the entire population of Americans and to ensure that we are at the forefront of science and innovation in the most important areas. So I'll close now and just say thank you for the opportunity to share these updates. I look forward to our discussion this morning. And again, I just want to reiterate how grateful I am to all of you for your support and your help and for welcoming me so warmly as your president. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you so much. It's hard to believe you've only been here for 4.5 months.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that.
Sounds like it's 4.5 years. It sounds like terrific report.
I hope that's not a bad thing.
No, it's amazing that you have such a grasp of the university in such a short period of time. So very impressed.
Yeah.
And thanks for a really thorough report. Couple of questions for you.
Sure, absolutely. Happy to take questions.
So Governor Kathy Hochul has been an amazing friend and supporter of Stony Brook. When she announced the big $300 million, was that before our last meeting? And does the whole council know about that? Or was that in between our last two meetings?
I thought it was before the last
I think
It was,
before,
okay,
yeah.
good. So that was a huge $300 million announcement by the governor, which was amazing. And yes, our State of the State will be on January 13th.
We'll be there.
So excited
Yes.
about that. I know, I believe your biggest resource right now is your time, because everybody wants a piece of your time. And I know a lot of Long Island stakeholders have asked to meet with you, and are you making some progress on meeting? I know even the local chambers want to meet with you. Have you met yet with the town of Brookhaven supervisor, the Suffolk County executive, or are they on the list of people to meet?
We have met Suffolk and Nassau County executives.
Okay.
I don't think we've met with the. I'm looking at Jennifer.
Yeah.
I don't think we've met with the local council. I think,
Right.
but. All of those meetings are on the list, and I have a lot of energy. I've been telling people that this is the first job I've had that actually meets my energy level and sometimes exceeds it. So those meetings will take place as soon as we can possibly. We've met with a lot of the local officials in Long Island. I also think being at the Long Island Association board meeting is a good way to meet with some of those people, but that's not the same as one-on-one. So
Right.
we are working our way through the list, and we can get you a full list of the people that we've met with and what's scheduled coming up.
No, it's just good. Everybody wants to feel touched, and everyone's so excited about you being here. And at least, you know, certain people, you know, will definitely, I think, are worthy of a one-on-one.
Absolutely,
with you.
yeah.
So that's great. On the strategic plan, you have a consultant helping you on that, or is it just
No.
being done internally?
It is being done internally.
So do we have an outline of the plan, or is there something that the council could chime in on, maybe share some of its views before the plan gets prepared?
Absolutely. I mean, we are still, I would say, in listening mode in a sense. I mean, we have the broad outline of accelerate, build, and catalyze. Those are the broad categories that we're looking at, but those are very, very broad. The reason we didn't get a consultant, in my experience, they don't necessarily help, because the consultant's voice is not your voice. And I think we have an incredible team here. When I've seen consultants do strategic plans for universities, it's obvious it's a consultant. It isn't really coming from the people inside. So I have full confidence in this leadership team that we'll be able to put together our own strategic plan without a consultant. But what we could do is, the listening is going to continue through the spring. I think that the outlines of the main details of the strategic plan will probably be presented around the time of my inauguration. So we can engage the council before that with maybe some of the broad themes that are emerging, which I envision will happen in the January, February timeframe. So I think as we wrap up this semester, we've had the 2 town halls. We've had cabinet. We had a cabinet retreat at the beginning of the semester. So I would say maybe it'd be good, perhaps at the next council meeting. Yeah, the February meeting would be a good time to kind of go over some of the main themes that we have. I think that's a great way to use that February meeting, because that'll be very early, but surely some of the main themes will have emerged by then. So why don't we plan on doing that at the February meeting?
Great. And I spoke with the DASNY president, Rob Rodriguez, the day after he met. He's one of Governor Hochul's top appointments. He's an amazing guy. And he said he was so impressed with his visit to Stony Brook.
That's wonderful.
That's good
Credit
to hear.
to Bill for
Good
that.
to hear. All right. Do any other council members have questions for Andrea? No? All right. I think you
Can I ask a
wow.
question for me? If
Yeah.
there's a council member, you want to let them go first, but.
I'm
Can I ask a
sorry.
question? Yeah.
And your name?
Barry,
My name is Josh Dudamo. Oh, was there somebody on the council? I don't know.
Did you have a question?
No, I was just pointing that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
My name is Josh Duden. I'm a professor here, and actually I wanted to share your the feelings of joy at the privilege of being on this campus with our amazing students and colleagues. My question really came to mind as you were talking about the New York Climate Exchange, and it raises in my mind the question of ethical investments of our, and this is really mostly the foundation, right? Investing the funds of this institution in a way that matches our values. So I think about climate, I think about child labor, I think about fossil fuels in general, I think about fair labor practices, I think about the war machine. There's all these issues that where the investments of the institution really should match our shared values. And so I guess the question is about transparency. It's very hard to know what our endowment and other funds are invested in because it's not transparent, both the primary and even secondary investments. So I realize that the foundation is a separate entity, but I was wondering whether you agree that there should be transparency in all of the investments of the institution so that we can, as a community, faculty, staff, students, and alumni, engage productively with each other to discuss that. And if so, would you call on the foundation to actually open the books and let everyone in the community look at where our monies are invested.
Is this something you want to deal with now? Or,
I think that's a topic that I would rather defer for, say, a Senate meeting where we can share that information in or address that question in a different setting than this one. So can we defer that to the next Senate
Sure.
meeting?
Absolutely.
That'd be great. Okay.
Josh, for you and some grad students who are here too, the council, so we're not the foundation. The foundation is involved with the funding. We're more of an advisory board to the president, and good question, legit, but as Andrea said, why don't you guys take that up at a different meeting?
Sure.
Okay. Thanks for sharing it, though.
Yeah, thanks for the question, and I think the Senate is absolutely the right place to address it.
All right. So no other questions for Andrea. So thank you again for your terrific report, and we will continue with the agenda. And first up, we're going to get an update on the Academic Momentum Campaign with Rachel Germana and Braden Hosh.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Stony Brook Council. I have with me Shelley Germana, who is the Senior Executive Provost for Undergraduate Education. Again, I'm Braden Hosh. I'm the Vice President of Education and Institutional Effectiveness. And I really appreciate the President's introduction to this, because the leadership support for student success is so absolutely critical, and cheerleading it on, making it happen, also providing the resources, but having that anchor of this is an important institutional North Star, really, really critical. So thank you. And SUNY's playing into that too, I think, by setting this Academic Momentum Campaign. I'm going to take the first half of this, set up the SUNY program, what our targets are, what the data are, and then Shelley's going to talk through some of our initial implementation plans. This is one of several programs that SUNY has going at the moment. And I also want to say that we've been working on student success for a long, long time. This is not new. It is really this instantiation of sort of calling attention to it as a system that is new, and trying to move all in the same direction together. So we're trying to build some synergies that way. This is actually a slide from a SUNY slide deck put into Stony Brook Red. But it's really something that the Chancellor announced during his State of the University address to build on the success of, this is an undergraduate campaign, all students, and specifically students who start as first-time freshmen. It has established some system-wide goals based on campus goals. Now, the system offered us some initial proposals for what those goals should be. We went into a dialogue with them for what those are, and we sort of contextualized their initial goals with some sort of benchmarking from the AAU and some other things to make sure that they fit our context and they were realistic. They're still incredibly ambitious, and we'll get to those in a minute. There are some strategies that come along with this. So the basic goals are for improving the retention rate of first-year freshmen, the 4-year graduation rate, the 6-year graduation rate. And then to get there, you want to make sure that students are making progress by earning enough credits, by completing gateway English and math courses, by having well-structured academic programs. So some of the bullets there. And so that's where some of the activity is that will help drive some of this, and that's system level. Now we're making sure that this works for us at Stony Brook. The whole initiative is coming out of Donna Linderman's office. She's the Senior Vice Chancellor for Student Success. She has an array of various programs. One's for transfer students, one's for high impact practices. There's some other things that she has going on. So here are the targets. The 1-year retention rate. Currently our 1-year retention rate, and they're measuring off of fall 2023 for their baseline. You'll note that we're in fall 2025. So just sort of recognize that we're kind of like 2 years into this. The baseline is 89.5%. Actually, most recently our retention rate was 89.4%. The target is 92. For the 4-year graduation rate, going from 63% to 72%, 6-year graduation rate from 75% to 83%. Now, some of those numbers are a little bit older. You'll see the new data coming up. Going to focus less today on some of the intermediary metrics, on the percent who've completed 30 credits, the Gateway English course, the math course, and FAFSA completion.
Before you get too far, so if I follow the chart right, the 1-year retention rate, baseline 89%, does that mean around 11% of the students drop out after the first year?
So dropout's the wrong word to use, Mr. Chairman. They go somewhere else. Most of the time they're enrolling in other institutions.
Got it.
So there's a very small fraction who leave higher education altogether. So I would just sort of encourage us to sort of say, yes, they're leaving us, but they're continuing their education.
Good. All right, thanks.
Another question. Yeah. So what explains the 63% four-year graduation rate? Are you counting people who leave, or people are just not doing as well, or it just takes longer, changing the majors?
So the federal metric on this is that it's the graduation from the same institution they started at. So anybody who transfers doesn't count. Anybody who takes an extra fall semester doesn't count in that 63%. So 63% start, say in fall of 2020, started in fall of 2020, and had finished their degree by August of 2024. Now, another, call it 12, 13%, finish in the next 2 years. About another, call it 15% of those, at about 90% of our total students finish a degree from somewhere. We have some uncertainty about international students, tracking them after they leave us, and then especially if they go back to their home country, we don't have great information about their outcomes. So almost all the students who are coming to Stony Brook really are succeeding in higher education. Just the way that these metrics are set up, they look like they're lower than you might expect. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So actually, let's look at some of these. Here's our 1-year retention rate, and these charts go all the way back to fall of 2022. The cohort that we're measuring on, as the president said, is fall of 2026. And so that is our 1-year retention rate. Before about 2011, it was sort of in the 87% range. There's a little spike there as we kind of changed our probation policy, and I think that's 2010, 2011. But it's been between 89 and 90% for the past 15 years, just about. The SUNY target is to do this. That's ambitious. Just, you sort of look at that chart, you say, wow, that's ambitious. It is. They had actually initially said that we should do a 95% retention rate, so we kind of put that into context. And one of the ways that we did that was to share with them where our peers are. So Stony Brook is a member of the Association of American Universities. That's the most prestigious research universities in North America. This is the ones who are public in gray. And you see Stony Brook there. I know this can be hard to read from the back. Stony Brook there is sort of top of the bottom quartile, sort of, I would say, at 89.8%. There for that year of benchmarking, that's the group that entered in fall 2023. But if you compare us to SUNY in the blue, we're almost up at the top. FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology, it's a very small sort of entering set of freshmen. Normally Binghamton's ahead of us, and you'll see that with the grad rates. But we're right up there. This also sort of helps you understand why this is so important for SUNY, because the vast majority of institutions really have weaker retention rates. Yes?
Do we know how it changes per major?
Yes, it's actually, there's a whole set of factors involved. And believe it or not, our STEM majors have higher retention rates than non-STEM majors.
Oh,
yeah. Most people think, oh, STEM, I drop out. It's not. It's the other way around. Stony Brook is actually very unique. Our STEM majors graduate at higher rates than non-STEM majors. Our Pell Grant recipients, those from the lowest economic strata, graduate at higher rates than non-Pell students. We don't have race ethnicity gaps, meaningful ones, between white, Hispanic, and Black students. Mm-hmm. So it's a first-generation students at Stony Brook graduate at higher rates than non-first-generation students. Mm-hmm. So we're much different, actually, from most of these other SUNY institutions.
And most of the other public AAUs. I mean, that staff statistic is
yes.
unusual.
So that's the retention rate. This actually drives the others, because if they don't stay to their second year, they don't graduate, mm-hmm. right? So this one's really important, and this is the one that Shelley's going to talk about the most. This is the 4-year grad rate. That 67% is a record high. The president mentioned this at her State of the University address. The improvements that we've made since 2014 or so translate to something like 5,500 additional students graduating on time. It's like a $430 million economic benefit to them. So this work has real meaningful consequences. That's the target. Now for the class entering in 2026, that gets measured in 2030. So just sort of recognize that that's going to be some time before we can report to you if we made that or not. When you, again, take a look at those same comparison groups, we're a little bit higher in that stack of the public AAU. 72% would kind of put us up around Ohio State, Illinois, a little bit over Pittsburgh, and over Penn State. And you can see Binghamton is there already at 74. And then this is the 6-year grad rate. So 77%, that's a little bit off the record high. Those are COVID bumps, by the way, those dips that we see. COVID has affected student success kind of across the board. That's the target. That will be measured in 2032. And this is how those stack up again. So the major takeaway is for SUNY, we're already doing really well. They want us to do even better. For the group of institutions that we like to compare ourselves to, we're really trying to get somewhere closer to the median of the group in the next cycle. So again, to have this move by 2032, we have to move the class entering next fall in that 1-year retention rate. So there's kind of a long time window on this. So with that,
Braden,
yes.
do we know why we're in the lower stack for the public AAUs? Are there things they do better than us?
So there's a wide range of reasons behind that question that we don't have time for. Most of them have been flagships for some of them over 100 years. Many of them are drawing we have this top 10% program. Only about 40% of our students come from the top 10% of their high schools. Place like Michigan, Texas, 90% come from their top 10% of high schools. Also systems like California, if you get into, say, UC Riverside, and you can later transfer to UCLA, you do that. That happens at Stony Brook, but it doesn't happen reverse from UCLA. So there's a whole host of reasons that go into that even before we get to funding and things like that. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Shelley.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about implementation and some of our strategies around student success. So we have assembled an amazing steering committee, a high-level team that's going to be concentrating on the Academic Momentum campaign over the next 18 to 20 months. I will just say that Stony Brook has a long history of having a student success team specifically for undergraduates. We were really one of the first in the region, and even when we were going nationally talking to people in terms of other public universities, to have a fully formed cross-divisional undergraduate student success team. So we've been doing this work for a really long time, and we're really happy to continue it through this campaign. So we have, as you know, Brenda. So we have Brenda actually that will be representing our faculty on this. And even though this is the team here, as you see, the implementation is really going to require a campus-wide effort. So we're really looking to the campus, to a variety of stakeholders to really try to mobilize with us so that we can achieve these goals. One of the things that's really unique about this, not just the ambitious targets themselves, but is also the ambitious time frame. And I think that's something that's really important to pay attention to. So here's the timeline from when the Chancellor announced the campaign in May. The initial targets and revised targets have just been completed and refined even into November. And we actually just went to the Regional Planning Summit. So I just want to point that out. I'm not going to go through the whole timeline. But the planning summit just happened last week. And so largely the work for this is going to be happening in the spring. And we're really going to have to set up most of what we're going to do for first year retention to then lead into the fall. So it's a very, very ambitious timeline. As I always like to say though, Stony Brook is ambitious and it's one of the best things about it. And so this is no different. Our primary focal points are really going to be first year retention and the percent of freshmen with 30 plus credits after year one. Part of this is because these fundamentally set up the other kinds of metrics. If we don't have students taking 30 plus credits in their first year, they can't graduate on time. And if we don't have students that we retain from year one, right, we can't continue, they can't continue on to graduation. And I do want to emphasize, because I think sometimes we concentrate so much on the metrics, which are really important in terms of the numbers and the meaning that they have behind them. But really what this comes down to, as to echo what President Goldsmith said, it comes down to lives that are being transformed by Stony Brook and by higher education. So the more students we retain, the more students' lives we transform. here are some of the strategies that I just want to spend, I think, the rest of the few minutes that I have on. As I mentioned, Stony Brook's been really involved in student success and has a long history in data-driven decision-making. Again, this is something over the last 15 years we were doing largely before other students or other institutions were, particularly around predictive analytics and the role of data in how we understand student success. So one of the biggest things that we try to do is we try to figure out what's going on with individual populations. So why are some populations not being retained at the same rates? We know from our data that international students and our out-of-state students have some unique experiences and are not necessarily being retained at the same rates as maybe our New York State students. And so we really want to get into that and figure out what we can do to try to support students in the way that they need so that they'll continue at Stony Brook. We also have an interesting set of students that are amazingly high achieving, well above 3.5 GPA. A large percentage of our population actually does have fantastic GPAs, and we actually don't retain them at the same rates as other students as well. And so we want to really kind of figure out what's going on there. Some of that is because they have amazing options. Stony Brook gives them the start that they need, and they also have options like Harvard and Columbia and Cornell, which sometimes we actually just had a student recently say, I love Stony Brook, it's been the most amazing experience for me, but I just got into my dream program at NYU, and I'm going to transfer even though I really don't want to. And so that's a hard thing for a student to have to decide, but it also does impact our rates when we look at our numbers. We need to reduce the bottlenecks that we have in course availability. We do still have some capacity concerns around particularly lab space, so we're working through that to make sure students get the courses they need so that they can persist from semester to semester. We also want to make sure faculty have what they need to be innovative in the classroom, to make any adjustments that they need in the classroom to pedagogically to promote student success. So again, we're going to be doing a lot of work with Brenda and her faculty colleagues around making sure faculty feel like they have what they need and they can contribute to the campaign. As President Goldsmith also mentioned, we've been investing pretty heavily in advising, and so we are refining the way in which we're doing case management and high touch advising. So the more touch points an advisor has with a student, the research indicates the better outcomes for students, particularly around first year retention. I'm going to skip the sophomore academic resiliency program and just circle back to that in a second. We also know that our students have some financial challenges. There are sometimes gaps, not necessarily in terms of tuition, but in terms of housing and room and board. So there are some gaps there that sometimes do delay their ability to register. And so we want to take a look at what kind of funding, temporary or otherwise, can we be providing to students to help just kind of get them over that initial financial challenge. And increased alignment of the first year with the major. We do have majors where students may need to take gateway courses before they can actually get into their major course. And so sometimes that means that they may not feel as much belonging to a major. And we also know from the research that this is a significant predictor of whether a student persists. And so we're taking a look at some opportunities, especially with our colleagues. We're just talking about nursing, we were talking about health professions, to really try to engage students with the faculty and the staff that are in those majors, even if they are not taking courses in their first year with the major. Just to point out the sophomore academic resiliency program, this is a program that we created 2 summers ago for students that are at promise but underperforming. So students whose GPAs their first term are below a 2.0. So there is a population, a percentage of students that do transition, have some transition difficulties and do struggle after their first term when they are freshmen. And so we've created this amazing summer program that is a fully collaborative program with our student affairs colleagues and colleagues all across campus to actually promote not just the persistence, but actually the increased GPAs of these students as well. So the students that are coming out of our summer program here are not just being retained, but they are actually outperforming students who actually don't participate in the program. So that's something that we're actually going to try and lean into and scale up. So as you can see from the strategies, we're really trying to do it kind of across the board, understand which students we're losing that are not staying, think about how we can promote the persistence of our high achieving students, as well as continue to support the students that may be struggling academically or socially when they're here in their first year. So with that, I will open it up to any questions that you might have.
Is every SUNY four-year institution participating in this process?
Even downstate and
Yeah.
SUNY Optometry were at the event on Thursday, and
Right.
they don't have freshmen.
They don't have undergraduates. Yeah, so so everyone across the system is.
Being a parent of two recent college graduates and made the last college tuition payment last May, is the 4-year goal driven more by parents who are helping foot the bill, or do students? Is this being driven by students, or is it a combination of both?
You know, the bachelor's degree in the United States has been 4 years for almost a couple hundred years. In Europe, it is not that. It is 3 years. There is a push in the United States to actually have more 3-year degrees. I really do think it's the notion of on time is what they're really trying to get to. So that so happens to be 4 years. Some of that depends on where you start, what you want to do, and where you want to finish. But I do think that because that has been the notion of on time, that's why the 4-year piece is on there. The 6-year piece is a financial aid driven number. You basically have to complete 150% of your credits. Like you have 150% of quote normal time to complete your degree. So that's really why that 6-year time frame has been in place. And Bill Bradley actually was the driver behind this in the early 90s. If you recall, he's a senator from New Jersey and an NBA player, to sort of move the NCAA graduation rates into a broader higher education context. So it actually has some roots in the NCAA.
I'll just add too that I think this is particularly important for our students too, and actually you often say this, that the sooner that a student completes, the sooner they can either go on to their next goals or they can get into the workforce, right? Which then again creates earning power, right? And I think with our social mobility, obviously our aspirations, but certainly the realities of how we support students already, that's a really important aspect of it.
It was one of the things I mentioned in my State of the University address was how much money our students are able to make because they're graduating on time versus the statistics we had before. So I think it's a combination of tuition, but also once they are done with their degree, the rest of their careers open up for them.
Do you think it's realistic for an undergraduate student to take more than 30 credits a year? If they're taking 30 credits alone, that's 15 credits per semester, and full-time is 12 credits still, right?
Right.
And
right.
also, my second part is, especially if they're paying tuition out of pocket or their parents, and I wonder how, a student that may be getting financial aid versus paying out of pocket, how that all kind of ties together.
Sure. So anything over 12 credits, right, is sort of included in that 12 credit bucket. So just in terms of the tuition question. As far as like what do students take, many of our students actually take well over 15 credits. So our average is sort of in that 15 range. But a lot of our students, and this has been increasing over the years, are bringing in significantly more credits. So we have some students that are bringing in credits that already put them into junior status. But we do have, we have small caps up to 17 credits in your first term. But then once you have a GPA on record, you can actually go up to 19, and many of our students do. We have a significant high achieving population, just really outstanding students that do want to take up to that threshold. So I think there's a question back here. I don't know if we have time or.
Guys, although not required to, I was going to give our guests an opportunity to be heard at the end of our agenda. And so would you mind let us get through our agenda, and then if you want to save any questions or comments, I'll give you guys an opportunity. Is that okay? All right. Yeah, normally we don't, but I've got to give it to you guys because I can see we have some guests here. So if that's okay with you, thanks so much. All right, so no other members from the council? Good. So Braden and Rita, thank you so much. Great presentation. Thank you. Okay, next up, we are going to get an overview of the School of Nursing. And we have Patricia Bruckenthal here to do that for us.
I just want to make a comment that I visited Patricia in the School of Nursing a few weeks ago as part of my getting to know the campus, and it is such an exceptional school with such exceptional leadership. I'm really delighted that she'll have the opportunity to share with you all the amazing things happening there.
Thank you so much, and I want to thank all of you for giving me that opportunity to present an overview of our outstanding School of Nursing and also give you a little bit of what our vision is for growth and impact for the future. So thank you so much. As I said, we'll be talking a little bit about our overview. I'm really going to highlight our opportunity now for a wonderful project that's underway about a nursing simulation center, and then we'll talk about some future visions. So just as a snapshot for our School of Nursing, we have a couple of real pride points. One of them is our online graduate program is ranked number 8 nationally for online graduate programs for schools of nursing. We have been in the top 10 for at least the past 5 years on this particular metric, so we're very proud of that. We have a very high completion rate. This year is a 5-year statistic, but generally even our students, our 4-year basic baccalaureate students, are graduating within their 4 years in the high 90s. So we have that to be proud of. And then the other thing is our undergraduate success on there. It's the national certifying exam for the undergraduate baccalaureate students. We are consistently in the top decile for at least the past 10 years. Our most recent pass rate was 96% for first-time test takers on their exam. Only to be up. We're second in the state by Buffalo, and so one of my goals and visions is to get to be number one in the state. I just want to highlight a little bit about myself. I don't want to talk about myself. I think really the most important thing about my leadership here is that I have been employed by Stony Brook University for 44 years. While that gives us a lot of institutional knowledge, I think the more important point is to say, why have I been here for 44 years? And when President Goldsmith visited, she asked me that question. And one of the reasons is, well, the most important reason is I'm really curious by nature. And Stony Brook University has given me the opportunity, whether I was a clinician in my earlier years here to my role now as dean, to constantly explore, find opportunities that kept me relevant, interested in being here. And I really hope that I convey that to my students and my faculty. So a little unusual for that kind of longevity, but I am very proud of it. And I think it really translates into success for our program. So a little bit about who we are as a School of Nursing. We currently and usually run about 300 undergraduate students. Our registered nurse program, we have 3 levels of entry. So one of them is our accelerated baccalaureate students. These are students who come with a bachelor's degree in anything. And I mean anything. They could be bio majors, chemistry majors, they could be health science majors, they could be music majors. They have a 4-year degree and they have decided that they would like to become a nurse. The accelerated baccalaureate program gets them through a second bachelor's degree in 12 months. So they enter in the summer of their first year, and 12 months later they finish and they become registered nurses. Our second way to become a baccalaureate prepared nurse is through our basic baccalaureate program. This is an upper degree program. So these students come to us, they have completed their freshman and their sophomore years and prerequisites necessary to get a bachelor's degree in nursing, and they spend their 2 upper division years with us. Those 2 programs, we admit 80 students a year, so that's a current capacity. And then our other program is the RN to baccalaureate program. These are students who come to us with an associate's degree in nursing from our community colleges, and then they come to us and complete the bachelor's degree in an online program format. So those are the 3 levels of entry that we have to get a baccalaureate degree in nursing. In addition, we have several graduate programs. We have the Advanced Practice Registered Nurse Program. So these are your nurse practitioners and your nurse midwives. We have 7 specialties right now. So this is adult gerontology, pediatrics, mental health, neonatal nurse practitioner, midwife, and so on. We also offer advanced certificates. We offer a master's in nursing leadership, a master's in nursing education. And we have 2 doctoral programs. One is the doctorate in nursing practice. That is a clinical doctorate degree. So these are nurses who have their advanced practice registered nurse degrees. So they're your nurse midwives, your nurse practitioners, and they go on to get a clinical doctorate in our program. And we also have a PhD program. So I would say for us, the two areas of opportunities we have for growth right now are both in our RN to baccalaureate programs, so those with associate degrees who wish to go on and get their bachelor's degree. One of the reasons for this is they've already completed their clinical component of training. They are registered nurses. They have taken their certifying exam, they can go out and practice, but if they want to get bachelor's degrees, they can come to us. So we don't have a bottleneck of trying to find them clinical placements. It's interesting that we don't have more nurses going for this degree right now, but we have some strategies in place for that. And then the other area is our PhD program, relatively new, we're trying to grow that. We have, as you can see, there are about 30 faculty members full-time. We also have part-time and support staff. So a little bit about our demographics of our student body. As you can see, almost all of our students come from Suffolk, Nassau County, and also the boroughs. And this has been consistent for several years. We have very few out-of-state students. With regards to students by ethnicity, you can see on this graph, well, more than 50% of our students are non-white students. It's an interesting statistic. I can't figure out why, but we have about 26 male students in our 26% of our undergraduate students are male. National average is usually around 13%. So it's just interesting, and I'm not sure why we attract them. We're glad we do. For our master's level programs, again, you'll see about the same demographic situation here, except male population's a little bit more consistent with national average. And then these are our doctoral programs. So again, by and large, almost all of our student body come from the New York State region, mostly Nassau, Suffolk, and as well as New York City and our boroughs. Some of our highlights that I think for success at Stony Brook School of Nursing is one that we offer nursing degrees at all levels. So we have the baccalaureate, we have the master's, and we have the doctoral programs. We do also are very fortunate to have many clinical training sites, including our own Stony Brook Medicine enterprise, as well as all the clinical outpatient facilities around us, and our partners with Long Island State Veterans Home, Eastern Long Island Hospital in Southampton. One of the other things that I wanted to point out is that we get many, many more qualified applicants than we do have the capacity to enroll. So this is last year's numbers. We got about, for our undergraduate programs, 903 qualified applicants, of which we can only admit 160 a year, 80 for that accelerated baccalaureate program and 80 for the basic baccalaureate program. We also, we have a holistic admission process, so not only are we looking at GPAs, we're looking at student experience, leadership experience, other healthcare experience, and we have a rubric that we use that we really kind of parse out. We have qualified applicants and we have highly qualified applicants. And we consider our highly qualified applicants those that we believe would be successful in achieving their nurse licensure by the completion of their program. And so last year we turned away about 102 highly qualified applicants that we believe would have been successful in our program, but we just don't have capacity right now to admit that many students. I wanted to point out a few other highlights, just that our faculty are very accomplished. Many of them received awards and fellowships, including the Nursing Science Incubator for Social Determinants of Health. We have our Director of Simulation who became a nursing fellow for simulation experts that New York State has a consortium of. We had a Stony Awards finalist last year, and Nassau Suffolk Council Nursing of Excellence in Academics. We've won that actually 3 or 4 years in a row. So a very accomplished faculty. We have faculty who sit on boards. I just finished my term as the president of the New York Council of Nursing Deans, but we have other board members in their professional societies. I wanted to point out, because I think sometimes the general community doesn't appreciate the expertise that nursing brings to research. So our nursing faculty have received nursing awards, have received research grant awards from the NIH, the National Science Foundation, the Department of Defense. So nursing is really a high contributor to research. Very often nurses will research in the areas of health access, health equity, social determinants of health, symptom management. So these are areas that nurses very much concentrate on their research. And I really just wanted us to appreciate the fact that our faculty have won these awards as well. I put on this slide the Health Research Service Award is a portion of Health and Human Services, a department of that. We had submitted 2 very high-level awards last year that, under the new administration, they were not reviewed for that funding cycle. They were cut. But the importance of those 2 grants is our commitment and our partnership with Eastern Long Island. Had we been awarded these awards, we would have been able to accelerate growth of nursing personnel out on the eastern end of Long Island. So when we talk about our commitment from Montauk to Manhattan, you know, this is one of the initiatives that the School of Nursing has in place. We plan to use the work that we've done on that to continue to try to run programs to help to fill some of the vacancy rates for that nursing has on eastern Long Island. Our students are amazingly successful. For many, many years in a row, the Student Nursing Association wins awards both on the state level, the national level. They sit in leadership positions, so I couldn't be more proud of the work that our Student Nursing Association does. They're very involved with our community, and they're just exceptional. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of initiatives that the School of Nursing has underway, and I will focus mostly on our simulation center. I want to talk to you about a relationship with the Long Island State Veterans Home, and then just a new dual degree program that I've just started conversation with the graduate school as well as biomedical informatics. So let me start with that, the dual degree program. As part of my vision and also to sort of accelerate our PhD program, we were very fortunate at the School of Nursing to have a generous donor who I believe we will be able to support 2 PhD students. And what I'm really looking to do is see if we can have a joint dual degree program with biomedical informatics and a PhD in nursing. I think that it's a really important opportunity and a place where nurses can accelerate in things like looking at population health, public health, by having that background in biomedical informatics. So that's something that we hope to launch possibly not this admission cycle for our PhD program, but hopefully the next. Our PhD students are mostly self-pay, so having this particular opportunity through philanthropy, we would be able to support 2 students in this program. The VA, the Long Island State Veterans Home, for the past 3 years, we've had a really nice program where we've partnered with them. We've gotten a federal grant, which was matched by the state, in order to bring in associate degree nurses to our baccalaureate completion program. In order to receive this grant, nurses who accept this need to work for the VA system, the Long Island State Veterans Home, for 3 years while getting their degree. Their tuition is completely paid for, and they go to work and get a full-time salary for 4 days a week, and the 5th day they're in our nursing program. This has been highly successful. It has really increased the recruitment of nurses to the VA. We've gone from a 17% vacancy rate down to a 4.5% vacancy rate. And so one of our next goals is to bring this particular program to the state level. There are 5 state veterans homes, and see if we can accelerate that model into all the state veterans homes. The second part of this is we're now working on retention, and so I'm partnering again with the Long Island State Veterans Home with some grant funding to provide programs for their nurses that already work there to hope to retain them in the State Veterans Home system and caring for older adults. It's been a very hard place to recruit for, so this is our next step with that. But kind of our jewel at this point is the Nursing Simulation Center. So let me talk a little bit about, before I get there, we're not without our challenges. There certainly is a national nursing shortage as well as a nursing faculty shortage. So just kind of some key factors about the shortage. It's predicted that we're going to need almost 30,000 new advanced practice nurses to meet our healthcare needs in the country over the next several years. There's a projected shortage. Our nursing school enrollments overall nationally are not growing fast enough to meet the shortages. There's a shortage of nursing faculty. Some of the reason for that is that many of us are reaching retirement age. So, basically we need a lot more nurses in the workforce, and certainly we're committed to that. Nursing faculty shortage, I have about 8 to 10 vacancies right now. We just had a rash of retirements and also for health reasons. But again, it is difficult to recruit nursing faculty. Some of that has to do with compensation. So nurses can get more working in the field than they can working, in an academic setting. However, it's, a different type of a role. So, we're really looking into kind of ways we might be able to partner and recruit more nurse faculty into our programs. Faculty age continues to climb. The average age of a nursing faculty is anywhere from 50 to 60 years old. So anyway, these are some of the challenges that we face. So now to our Nursing Center for Excellence for Simulation. So a couple of years ago, under the governor's direction, the chancellor convened a Future of Healthcare Workforce Task Force. I was privileged to be a member of that team, and out of that came some recommendations. I mentioned that there was a bottleneck for getting more nurses into your programs due to the limited space for clinical placements. And so one of the ways to perhaps decant some of that bottleneck is to use more time in simulation. So through this workforce task force, SUNY came up, appropriated $62 million to create centers for excellence for nursing simulation. We were one of 3 colleges in the SUNY system who were awarded that. So we were, highly grateful for that and a well-written proposal for this. And so the goal of having nursing simulation centers, these 3 centers, is one is that they're regional. And so one is to enhance space and capacity for training. There is a simulation law that was enacted in 2023 that basically stated that up to 1/3 of clinical training hours could be done in simulation. So that was some momentum for this particular project. And also to establish partners with our other SUNY campuses. So as I said, we can replace up to 1/3 of the clinical hours. The other requirement for acceptance of this grant is that we will increase enrollment. So we plan over the next 5 years of this grant is to increase enrollment by 35% over 5 years. So how do we plan on expanding this particular regional nursing simulation center? If you can see, one of the reasons for selection of this highly competitive grant, if you look who got the grants, is we got one of the grants, which you can see in these 2 circles that I have here. This would be the region that we would be responsible for working with, basically all of Long Island, Manhattan and the boroughs, and the lower Hudson Valley. Buffalo is the other area, and then way up north is Canton, in a very rural area, so they got awarded the 3rd grant. We already have relationships with many of our partners within kind of the inner circle that you see. So we have MOUs with Westchester Community College. We're just about to sign one with Dutchess Community College. We have had one with Suffolk Community College for probably the past 10 years. These will help our pipeline of associate degree nurses coming into that baccalaureate program, or at least we hope so. My director of simulation already is starting to work on programs with a lot of these areas. And so, we will be reaching out through programs that will not only bring people to train their students and their faculty in simulation, on our campus, but also be able to simulcast a lot of these types of opportunities and programs to that particular region. Well, we don't have a physical space yet. We are very, very close to getting it. I'm working with Bill and his team for facilities. But my programmatic working in simulation has been accelerated by my newly appointed director, who is a fellow in a simulation fellowship through New York State. And so we're working on virtual simulation software. We're working with information technology. One of the things, these are highly technological mannequins and things that we work with. We recently had an episode in our simulation lab where all of the technology shut down. We have all of these iPads that work with our mannequins that can adjust vital signs and other things that we're trying to simulate in patients, and we couldn't figure out why it shut down. We brought our our IT teams in and found out that a lot of the students were uploading a lot of things onto these specialized iPads that were used particularly to articulate with the mannequins, but they were putting on YouTubes and other types of things which caused an overload one particular day. So we really have to build in some other guardrails around those types of things as we learn more about simulation. We will be putting on a regional conference in 2026 for those partners that you saw within our kind of circles up to the lower Hudson Valley, and also hopefully invite our colleagues from Canton and Buffalo as well. We're going from currently 1,800 square feet of simulation space that I have now in our School of Nursing to being awarded this grant, which will give us 15,000 square feet. So it is really going to accelerate our capacity in simulation. Some of the unique things we have, not only will some of the simulation areas look like a typical hospital center, but moreover, we were really intentional on making sure that we had home care and life skills simulation set up in there, really to address the fact that many of we need to really care for people in the community at home and train our nurses to do that.
Where is that going to be located, on the East Campus or West or the Research Park? Well, we don't know yet.
We're very close to knowing. I'm looking at Bill. We just had a meeting on Friday.
We're not exactly sure just yet. We have a couple ideas.
All right. You'll let us know.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I was joking with Bill on Friday when we had our meeting. We will have a design consultant come in. This particular rendering of the design probably will change as we are building out the space. I believe this was done on my associate dean's dining room table one day with just some envision we had, but nonetheless we were awarded the grant. It had the right ideas embedded with that. So we are really, really excited about this and looking forward to it. This was a $20.5 million proposal. The state awarded us $10 million. So we are on a very aggressive philanthropic goal of raising the other $10 million or $10.5 million right now through 2030. So that is kind of one of our biggest initiatives that's happening right now. I'm working with the advancement team. We're doing some great work, some great potential. So this is our big goal, our big audacious goal over the next several years. And then keeping with the president's kind of rubric and domain, the School of Nursing, we have some vision for growth and impact, certainly about expanding our training and simulation center. We really are thinking about the second kind of bullet there is how to really accelerate getting our nurses out into the workforce quicker. And so there is a model to get that doctorate of nursing practice degree right after, entry level at baccalaureate. So we're looking at combining those two degrees to a shorter time period to get that. Expanding, digitally, globally. We really don't have a global footprint right now, but it certainly is something that we're considering. Certainly work in research where we can accelerate and grow would be great. I talked to you about the Long Island State Veterans Home model, and we're also starting to really get into the pre-college exposure to getting, K through 12 students, exposed to the nursing profession. Build. Of course, we want to build our simulation center. We want to build outreach and scholarships. We're really starting to think about this global impact. I do have a nurse who teaches in my pre-nursing course on campus. She happens to also, she's a nurse from Greece, and she teaches on our Hellenic Studies department. And so she and I are starting to have conversations of what might it look like if we could have a global experience in the healthcare system in Greece, of which she is familiar with. So it's just sort of, a vision. We're talking about that right now.
Yeah, we got it great.
We got a good coach up here.
Yeah, I was listening.
We got a guy.
Number one.
I got a nurse, we got a guy. This might be a beautiful partnership, right?
And then in the Hamptons for lunch or whatever. I'd love to do that.
Okay.
That'd work.
And then certainly, how do we grow and catalyze? And so also thinking about our simulation center in terms of generative opportunities, how can we expand to the community in that way, getting our nurses in design thinking and innovation projects, they're natural problem solvers, thinking of policy and community outreach. So.
So Patricia, I've been chair now 16 years, and I say at every meeting, I always learn something new at every meeting. So today I learned one, I didn't know you could get a PhD in nursing, and I never equated research with nursing, so thanks for that. Number two, before I forget, Jennifer and Rachel, I remember last meeting we bumped Fred. You kept on mentioning the nursing home, and we ran out of time, and so we got to put Fred back on the agenda for the February meeting to get an update on the nursing. And just curious, when you looked at and when you shared the stats about the shortage of nursing and the demand for nursing nationwide, are those stats pretty similar for Long Island too? Are we less than the stats you showed, about the same?
Yeah, so we're less. There's 10 states. New York is not one of them, and we'll really probably be feeling the impact of the nursing shortage. I will say that Stony Brook Medicine right now has a very, very low vacancy rate, lower than the national average. That's not the same for Eastern Long Island Hospital and Southampton. But we are lower. We probably won't feel it as much as some other states.
Okay. And my last point, Stony Brook has so many great programs, so many different great degree granting programs. And there are a lot of other colleges on Long Island, since we get so many of our students from Long Island. Some of those other colleges, their number one program is nursing, whether it's Malloy, Adelphi, and Hofstra, and LA. Are they, do our stats compare well with them? And are they really our true competitors since we get most of our students from, the Long Island?
I really wouldn't say they're our competitors, because I think that we are the number one choice for most of our students from Long Island and New York City. Malloy and Adelphi take many, many, many more nursing students. So they admit classes of 100, 150 for that baccalaureate level. They don't appreciate the same certification pass rates that we have. I still think we are the number one choice in the region.
Great.
For nursing.
Thank you. Great talk. I also didn't realize how many types of nursing programs we had at Stony Brook, including the PhD. So you mentioned K through 12. Do you know if there are any, because where I'm from, Staten Island, there's a high school that has a nursing program, so when the students graduate, they have an associate's in nursing. Do you know of any schools here that do that?
No, there's a model in Rhode Island. They tried to do something upstate New York with charter schools that really kind of didn't go that far. Yeah. There is a high school of the health sciences in Queens somewhere that every student will graduate either as an EMT or a nursing assistant, but I am not aware of any other.
And then what are your thoughts, I guess a more general question, and how do you think this will affect the applications that the school will be receiving in nursing to the government, changing the professional? I think nursing was included in the, I don't want to say that's not, but everyone knows.
So the caps, I think you're referring to the caps that will be proposed for graduate education and professional education. Yeah. So nursing was not included in the professional education categories, which is, caused a lot of conversation around that. But for CAPS for graduate school, I did run the numbers on that. I do not believe that we will be that affected or have that big of a gap because we are a public institution and our tuition is lower. Cool.
Yeah, I note that the graduation rate, the 5-year rate, is way above the rest of Stony Brook. Is this something the rest of Stony Brook could learn from this, or is it just that people who decide to become a nurse are more dedicated because they're not sort of, they just are more committed?
I think both of those things are factors. So people want to get that nursing degree. They're going to be, stick with the program. It's a lockstep program of coursework that they're taking. And the other thing is that we just for student success, our faculty is so engaged with students who are at risk for not passing that certification exam that we just are very intentional about our support for those undergrads.
Doctor of Nurse Practice is not a nurse practitioner, right?
It is in New York State in particular, you must be a nurse practitioner in order to get the doctorate of nursing practice. So they are advanced practice nurses, nurse practitioners, who then go on to get a doctoral degree, clinical doctorate, a lot of systems management, technology, those types of epidemiology, population health type courses are the additional courses.
First, thank you for your enthusiasm. It really came across, and we're lucky to have you. The graduates, are they staying local, or is it a trend like other professions where people graduate and they wind up in other states?
No, so most of our graduates stay within the region. About 25. No, last year was actually almost 30% of our graduates went to Stony Brook Medicine. The other healthcare region would be Northwell, so about 21% went to Northwell, and then the rest kind of in Manhattan and where they live.
Excellent. Thank you.
Scott?
Just would welcome any conversation that members of the council might want to have if they know anyone who might be interested in supporting this situation. I'd like for the conversation start. We'd be happy to include if anyone who'd like to help us.
Great.
A lot of great naming opportunities.
Great. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Patricia.
Thank you.
So that concludes our official business. As I said, we don't usually have a public portion of the meeting, and we have a grad student and undergraduate students represented on the council, but I see some students have appeared here today. So one, thank you for coming. Thank you for showing the respect to us, and I wanted to pay it back by giving you guys, if there was something that you wanted to put on our radar screen, and if there's a spokesperson for the group, happy to give you 3 minutes to share with us anything you wanted to share, or did you really just come to listen and observe? Sure.
Okay, since I raised my hand last time, I wanted to clarify that there were multiple of us who wanted to ask questions. So among us, I wanted to make sure if we all know if there's one person who will ask. But I can ask a question in under 3 minutes and then let others go. Is that okay?
Sure. Well, why don't you state your name for the record, since we're being recorded here, and let us know who you are.
Sure.
And if you could be brief, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, my first name is Christine. I'll state my first name for the record. And so I'm a graduate student, and I have a question that relates back to the point earlier about student recruitment and retention, especially because, so I think that students, in addition to the financial burdens you're already talking about, are facing issues related to what's going on here in the U.S. currently with deportations. ICE is affecting their families, are facing issues with what's going on in Palestine regarding the Israeli military and the attacks on Gaza and the West, and the occupation, genocide there, genocide in Sudan that is going on through their civil war. And I believe that these issues also impact student recruitment and retention and our overall wellness as students. And so I'm wondering what we are doing as Stony Brook University to take proactive steps to basically address our own potential links to larger global political issues. One of those ways is whether we are willing to be a sanctuary campus to protect students from deportation. And the other that I had in mind is whether we are willing to cease contracts with companies like IBM, which while they're providing information for the climate change, is also providing cloud computing towards Israel's military that's affecting Palestinian students. And like I met a Palestinian undergraduate student who was a first year and who's obviously facing some of these issues as well. And I think this is a challenge to our student life, and that's going to impact whether or not people are going to want to stay at Stony Brook. So I'm wondering what you are willing to do for this.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Andre, do you want to take that?
Sure, I'll give a response. Thank you for your really heartfelt questions. So, on the sanctuary campus, we, and I've talked about this in the Senate before, we have to follow the law. If there is an immigration agent who shows up with a judicial warrant, we have to honor that warrant. And we have very strong policies and procedures in place to ensure that we follow the law, but that we don't go beyond what we're required to do legally. With respect to divesting, we are under the SUNY system and abide by the SUNY policies, which do not allow for divestment from companies. So that is our policy. And I'm happy to have a longer discussion. We don't really have the time here. I have office hours for students. Anyone can make an appointment to come and talk to me about issues that are on their minds.
Oh, yeah, just as a follow-up for that, since you mentioned the officers, well, I guess two follow-ups. One would be contracts separate from divestment, and two would be in the office, is there a possibility to make an appointment that's more accessible? Because I did try to make an appointment for the office hours, and I was unable to come because there was another meeting that conflicted with it. So I'm wondering how we can make, unfortunately I filled out, there was a Google form that I filled out, and then I arrived there because I wasn't sure I hadn't received a response yes or no yet, and someone said that there was another appointment. So I'm just wondering if there's a way to like make an appointment about this.
So on my website, that's the best way to make an appointment, and we do confirm appointments, and I have appointments on a regular basis all the way throughout the academic year. I'm also available to talk, in Campus Lifetime, and anytime you see me at a student event, I'm happy to talk with students. They're the best thing about this university.
Well, thank you guys for sharing, and thank you for attending. All right, we'll take one last question.
Yeah, just real quick, I was wondering, thank you for the opportunity. Considering this is the council that's meant to hold the president accountable, I was wondering what went into the decision to make these town halls so inaccessible to students? I know many people that tried to be a part of this collective organization that's trying to hold our university accountable and make it the best that we can. I know many people that tried, and you were very vocal about how open the registration was, but it was open for maybe 2 hours, and I know from the town hall that I went to, it was effectively all admin. There was no meaningful student representation, and this is largely, from what I can gather, because the admin were automatically enrolled and the students were systematically repressed from engaging or being a part of this opportunity that was meant to get the input from the students and the actual input that was given by the students. Myself was entirely excluded from the record, and so I was just wondering, as the council and as the president, what concrete contributions or promises can you make to meaningfully engage with your students' feedback and preferences?
So I think one of the students here was at the first town hall, and so it certainly was open to student participation. There were students both in the virtual town hall and in the in-person town hall.
Do you know the number?
I don't know the number off the top of my head. I've had dinners with students regularly throughout the semester. I have student office hours. I really do want to hear from our students, and if there's things that students want to input into the strategic planning, we have the website for input from the students. So we have 18,000 undergraduate students and 8,000 graduate students. We can't accommodate them in every opportunity, but if there's suggestions on how we can include student voices more, we're definitely open to those. But again, I would reiterate, in the town halls that we had, there was definitely student representation, and those voices were heard and are part of the record that we're using to use the input from the town hall in their strategic plan.
Great.
A suggestion really quickly.
Last comment.
Yeah, last comment. Maybe try to leave. Most students can't read the email and check registration within a single hour or 2 hours, especially whenever you say the registration will be open for a week. So I would, I guess, suggest trying to have maybe some student-specific town halls that actually get student input and not are entirely flooded by admin. I'd like to reiterate there were maybe 5 students that I saw that actually were a part of the town hall.
Sure, but our student dinners are only for students. So I've been at, I think, 4 or 5 student dinners with about 30 students participating. So those are restricted to students, as are the office hours are restricted to students.
Right. All right. Well, thank you. I'll let the undergraduate member of the council have the last word.
I just wanted to respond to your comment. I'm always looking for ways to engage undergraduate students in governance. One of the biggest challenges that we face is to gain that student engagement. If you want to get in contact with me and we could arrange roundtable discussions as another avenue to collect your concerns and then bring them to administration, I'm happy to do that.
Great. Excellent point. Great way to end it. So that concludes our official agenda. I want to again thank Andrea, your team, and our guest for showing up. Does anybody have any new business or any other business they'd like to raise at this time? Hearing none, I want to wish everybody a very happy Hanukkah. I want a very Merry Christmas, and I want to especially wish our students very good luck with all your finals. That concludes our meeting. Let the record reflect that about an hour ago, Linda Arman joined us, and we thank you, Linda and Brenda. And so I'll move to adjourn. Father Alex seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Meeting's adjourned.
All right. Thank you.